Um, we have with us Dr. V. Uma Maheshwari, Professor in Department of Information Science and Technology from College of Engineering, Guindy. She did her MTech Computer Science and Engineering from IIT Madras and did her PhD from CEG. And more than all this, she is my teacher, and she has been inspiring more than 3 decades of students by teaching these sort of subjects, algorithms, compilers, and whatnot. That is, she used to teach computer architecture, operating systems, and PPL. And if you say Uma ma'am, there is only one Uma ma'am in CEG. So I'm so glad that she is here to address all of you in this FDP. Thank you very much, ma'am, for being here.
Thanks, Chitra, for such kind words. I hope I live up to your expectation. We'll see. I hope your stomach is not too full. Okay, I don't want you to doze off. But anyway, let's see, right? What is backtracking? What is backtracking? Some answer, any answer is fine. I'm not expecting a formal definition which you pick up out of a textbook. Okay, so he says we are trying some way. If it doesn't work, you go back and try some other way. Fine. Is it a design technique? Is it an algorithm design technique? The workshop is about design and analysis algorithms. So the question now is it an algorithm design technique? I'm not asking what it is. I'm just asking a simple question. Is it a design technique? Just a binary answer would do. What are the other design techniques you are familiar with? You would have gone through a few classes taken by renowned professors. Can you name a few algorithm design techniques? Huh? Dynamic programming, yes. Greedy, divide and conquer. Okay, we will see. At the end of this session, we will know what it is. I am not going to formally define now, okay? We'll start with a simple problem. I don't know whether you have seen the book by Levitin, okay, Design and Analysis of Algorithm. That is what is prescribed for undergrad course. In his term, we will start with the perennial favorite problem of the textbook writers. So what do you mean by perennial favorite problem? I mean all-time favorite, okay? So he says, let's start with the all-time favorite problem of textbook writers, okay? Can you just tell me what that is going to be? 8 queens problem. Yes, he is right, okay? So 8 queens problem is what we are going to start with. I am not again defining what that problem is all about, okay? And 8 by 8 checks I am not interested in drawing on the board. So I am going to cut it to 4 queens problem, okay? So what is that 4 queens problem all about? Any guess? What is 4 queens problem? It's too complicated a statement. She says, place the queens on the checkerboard so that no 2 queens cut each other. What do we mean by that? Checkerboard is your chessboard. Okay, so normally chessboard is 8 cross 8. I have drawn 4 cross 4 here. So it is a 4 queen problem. So we have to place 4 queens on the checkerboard on this 4 cross 4 matrix such that they don't cut each other. When do they cut each other? So 2 queens on the same row cut each other. Same column, cut each other. Say, along the diagonal, cut each other. Okay. Now, supposing, okay, so how do we solve this problem? Let me start with the first queen and place it in the first row. Let me place it there. Okay, I have taken the first queen, place it in the first row, first column. Now I have to place the remaining 3 queens. So I take the second. There are how many squares are there? 4 cross 4, 16 squares are there. 1 is already occupied. So what are the choices remaining for the second queen? I have 15 more squares to keep. So can I place the queen here? Why? Here, here, here. So we took the second queen. I looked at every square in the first row. You said no. I went to the second row. Because the first queen is placed in the first row, first column, I cannot place the second queen in the same column. Second column, second row, again out of question because it comes diagonally. We have placed. Third queen. Since I have tried all these squares to place the second queen, I am not going to try those squares. So what will I do? I will start from the place where I place the queen. Can I place it here? 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 I have to finish exhaust all the squares. Here? Here? I have to exhaust. Third, that is what an algorithm is all about. I have taken one, I am looking at all squares, so I have placed the third queen here. Now I have got the fourth queen. Can I place it here? So what is the conclusion we are arriving at? 4 queens problem cannot be solved. 4 queens problem cannot be solved. Is that the inference that we are arriving at? No. So what do? Somewhere, so we had lots of choices at each step. Maybe the last choice I made is not the right choice. Let me try to find if I am going to have another. Fourth queen I am not able to place. So the last queen I had placed on the board is the third queen. And I had placed the third queen here. So maybe some other square would have worked better. Can I place the third queen? Because we have tried all the positions. Can I place the third queen here? So we tried all possibilities for the third queen. We chose one, did not work. We chose the remaining, that also did not work. So the choice I made for the second queen may be not okay. Okay? So what do? I remove the third queen also and try to see where I can place the second queen. So can I place the second queen there? Because I have tried all these. That's why I come. Can I place the second queen there? Yes. Third queen. Third queen. Fourth queen. Fourth queen. Fourth queen. Fourth queen. Fourth queen. Fourth. Again, no. Basically, what I am trying to, we will see, there is a solution. So basically, what I am trying to illustrate is the state space is very huge. What do I mean by that? It has a huge state space. All possible solutions, of which I am interested in, we will see that. It's too big. What do you mean by big? Does it have 5 solutions or 10 or 100 or 200? What do we mean by the term huge? English, the huge is a relative term. So what do you mean by huge? Do you mean 100 possibilities? Do you mean 1,000 possibilities? What does it depend on for this particular problem? When do you say, in algorithmic notation, when do you say something is too large, too big? Exponential. With respect to what? Exponential again? With respect to the input size. Okay? Exponential again is not a exponential with respect to the input size. Otherwise, it is too loose a term. Okay? So what do we mean by exponential? What is exponential? Okay, what is polynomial in n? How does a polynomial in n look like? We know. Okay, so the general formula is a naught into x power n plus a1 into x power n minus 1. That goes on up to n. So that is a polynomial in x of degree n. We know how a polynomial looks like. So polynomial in the input size, so instead of x, you should talk about n. Are you understanding? So it is a naught into n power p, whatever, plus a1 into n power p minus 1. It is in terms of, it is a function of n, the input size. So we know how a polynomial in n would look like. How does an exponential term in n would look like? So the n would appear on the top as a power. You are right. So anything to the power n is, it is exponential in n. What is wrong with the state space being as large as a power n, whatever be a, some constant? What's wrong with that? Why can't we try all possible choices? That's what we are going to see. And be done with it. Why we have to talk about something called backtracking? What will I do? So, I mean, each queen has how many places to keep? So if it is a 4 cross 4, the first queen can be placed in any one of the 16 squares. The second one queen can be placed in any one of the remaining 4. That's all. Try all possible cases. So place the first queen in one of the 16, then second queen. So I can enumerate all of them, pick up the ones that I want. Are you understanding? It is not an unsolvable problem like what you would find in theoretical computer science. It is solvable very much. So I am able to list all possible, and then I say, this cannot happen because both of them are in the same row. This cannot happen, both of them. I'll keep cutting things which don't work. So what is wrong with this way of enumerating? I can write an algorithm for it. It is no big deal. We know how to write code for it. Just 1, 2, 3, 4 loops would be sufficient. Loop running over 6, whatever, depending on the number of squares. What's wrong with this? Yeah, I am not going to do enumerate it. I'll just put, instead of saying for is equal to 16, 4 cross 4, it is going to be n cross n squared. So I'll first choice, first queen has n squared, second queen has n squared minus 1. I'll just put a loop. I'm not going to do manually. I'm going to generate. Are you understanding? So n queens will have to be placed n nested loops. All possible cases. We know how to generate. We know how to generate factorial. It's done. Why we should worry about looking at something? What's wrong with such an algorithm? Is anything wrong with that algorithm? Okay, is it a correct algorithm? Will you get what you want? Yes, but how much time it's going to take? It's going to be a very, very slow algorithm. If you want to look at all possible cases, then it is going to be very slow. So what is that we are attempting to do? We are trying to see, is there a clever way of avoiding certain combinations? Okay? We call this as the exhaustive search. Exhaustively list all possible candidate solutions, pick up the ones that you want. Pick up the ones that satisfy our requirement or our property. That is called as exhaustive search. Exhaustive search for an exponential state space is going to be very slow. So what are we trying to look at? Is there a clever way of searching through such a huge state space? That is what we are attempting to do now, okay? Easy way of, better way of handling. Does that mean that it is going to result in a fast algorithm for all instances of the problem? No. Please understand that very clearly. All instances means all types of input. So the way we are handling, if you call this as a design technique, I don't like to call this as a design technique. Backtracking, I don't, personally, that's my personal opinion. And I think many people would concur with me because I don't know whether you have seen the book by Introduction to Algorithms by CLRS. If you have seen that book, it is a 600-page book. Does he talk about backtracking? Does he talk about branch and bound? No. So I don't like to, I mean, that's another school of thought. I'm not saying somebody is right, somebody is wrong. One school of thought is this backtracking and branch and bound are not algorithm design techniques. When somebody could write a book of 600 pages, why they could not include these two chapters if they really fit into it? But I personally feel they go into what we call as AI books. They are clever search techniques. So you are able to search the state space using some heuristics, okay? So again, I mean, what I'm saying is there's nothing right or wrong, but that's why I said, what is it? Is it a design technique? Maybe. Is it a search technique? Maybe, okay? What's in a name, as long as you know what's happening. So I would like to call this as a search technique, and this search technique does better than the exhaustive search. Exhaustive search is very, very low. Backtracking helps you to search faster for many instances of the problem, not for all instances. Is that clear? So I think you had your NP complete discussion in the morning. So basically, this is an NP complete problem. Okay. So we are trying to come up with some fast solution for some instances of the problem. That's all. We don't claim anything much more than that. Okay. Now, having said that, I think by enumeration you will be able to get the solution for a 4 queens. It's not difficult, okay? But as I said, backtracking is a search technique. It's a clever search technique. First, we try to formulate the program in such a way, formulate the problem in such a way that you can avoid certain unnecessary placements. So how did I start? I said, place the first queen in the first square. Then what did I say? Can I place it in the second? Can I place it in the third? Can I place it in the fourth? Okay? Because those are the possible squares that are free currently, which we have not looked at. So now what we are trying to do is, let's try to formulate the problem solution. We are formulating the solution to the problem by taking some input from the problem statement. Problem statement is placing n queens on a n cross n checkerboard without cutting each other. Problem says 2 queens cannot be placed in the same row, 2 queens cannot be placed in the same column and diagonal. That is the problem statement. So we have to, as the designer, we have to formulate how our solution vector would look like. So how am I going to say? My solution vector, it is a vector. Vector means a one-dimensional array. So my solution vector is going to look like this, A1, A2, AN. What do you guess A1 stands for this problem, n queens problem? Now I have resorted to the general n queens problem. What is n queens problem? Placing n queens on a n cross n checkerboard. And for that, the solution vector looks like this, A1, it's a n vector solution. N vector means n elements are there. A1, A2, AN. What do you guess A1 is going to be? Where is it picked up from? I mean, it belongs to which set? What are the possible values of AI? N queens, so you think the solution. So try to map. It's an n queens problem, so I have formulated the solution vector solution as an n vector. 4 queens problem, it will be a vector of 4 size. 8 queen, a vector of size 8. So what do you think that A1 is, where do you think the A1 is derived from? Which set? What does it contain? I mean, can you say it more precisely? Mathematically, it's a set having what? You're right. Can you build upon that? For an n queen problem, what values can A1 take? You're right. Or somebody pick up from what he said. He said position. Huh? No. What is it? What is it? What can A1 be? What is it? No, I don't want it in English. I want it in precise answer. He said A1 corresponds to the position. We are talking about an n cross n checkerboard. She says XI. The answer is precise, but what is A1? X1, Y1. No, that's not precise. At least 1 comma is precise. So A1 is 1 comma 1, A2 is 2 comma 2, A3 is 3 comma 3. Come on. He said position. He said position. And I have got A1, A2, AN. What do you guess? I am formulating the solution vector now. I have not told you what it is. What? What do you guess AI is going to be? Correct location of what? Which Q? Which queen? No. AI is the correct location of which queen? Ayat. Okay. So we are slowly coming towards it. N queen. It's an N queen problem. So it is. I don't like that video. Okay. So it's an N queen problem. So you're right. Okay. So A1 comma A2 comma AN. So your mapping is fine. So AI, you think, corresponds to the position of the ith queen. You're right. But as she is saying, placing the queen, I need to know which row and which column. It needs 2 coordinates. But I've just said a linear vector. Good. Something like that. So what did I say? Formulate the vector in such a way, taking the problem, having the problem in mind. It is not a generalized formulation. For 8 queens problem or an n queens problem, we do not want to place 2 queens on the same row. So what is our understanding? So basically what we are going to say, queen 1 will be placed in the first row. I have to place all the queens. So n by 1, n by n cross checkerboard, I have to place n queens. So what am I saying? Queen 1 will be placed in the first row. Which column? Don't know. Second queen in the second row, third queen in the third row, fourth queen in the fourth row, because we cannot place 2 queens on the same row. So we have identified rows. So I don't need 2 coordinates now. I have decided I am going to place the first queen in the first row. So I don't need the x coordinate. So remaining only the column. That is what is going to be specified by your AI. AI specifies. What you said is right, position. Here, what is the position? Only the column. The column ranges from 1 to n for an n queen problem. For a 4 queen problem, 1 to 4. So basically, AI, if I say AI belongs to the set SI, so what are you going to have in SI? It's a set. Set means notation. So you're going to have a delimiter, set delimiter, double braces. So what are you going to have in SI now? Come on. 1? That's all. It just specifies the column in which the ith queen can be placed. How many columns are there in an n cross n checkerboard? There are only n columns. So AI can be from 1 to n. A1, 1 to n. Because the columns, each queen is going to be placed in one of the n columns. So A1, A2, all of them, that SI, S1 is equal to S2 is equal to Sn is equal to 1 to n. That's all. Okay? So what did we say? That no 2 queens should be placed in the same row. We have taken care of. I don't have to worry about it anymore. Okay? Only 2 more conditions you will have to worry when you are placing a queen, whether they are along the same diagonal or along the same column. That can be handled. Right? Now, in the exhaustive search, even in this way of formulating the problem, how many how many candidate solutions you have. A1 can be 1 to n. So n cross n, n times, n power n. Exhaustive search is going to be very, very, very slow. Okay? That's why we are trying to look at another clever way of going through this solution space. We call that a state space. All possible candidate solutions, whatever terminology, depending on the text that you're going to follow, right? Now, with this as the basis, we will try to quickly go through. Basically, what we are going to do in backtracking is, we don't give A1, A2, AN straight away, okay? We associate one value. That's what we did. We tried to place the first queen in the first column. So assume some possible value for A1 and try to incrementally build the solution. Assuming A1 is equal to 1, where can I place A2? We placed it in 3. So assuming A1 and A2 are placed in 1 and 3, where can I place the third one? So assuming 1, 2, 3, I queens are placed appropriately without cutting each other, where can I place the I plus 1th queen? Okay? Then, if you run out of possibilities for the I plus 1th queen, after placing the I queens, what do? We backtrack. Go to the previous queen, which is the ith queen, and look at the next choice available for the ith queen. All this is nice to say. How are we going to write code for this? So we understand how it works. We understand what the backtracking is all about. So you try to place the k plus 1th queen, assuming k queens are appropriately placed. If you don't have a possible value for k plus 1, you go to the previous queen, which is the kth queen, and try the next possibility for the kth queen. Easier said. Then I have to look at it. I have to look at what the choice I made for the first queen and remember the other positions. Choice I made for the second, other 3. I'll have to keep all this stored somewhere appropriately so that we do the backtracking without any problem. Who is going to write the code for it? We, user. How do you think we are going to write the code for that? Does the programming language support us with something, some feature? So I got an answer, stack. Can you build upon that? I don't know what stack is. What is stack? We know what stack is. We have studied in data structures. What is stack? What is it called? Last in, first out list. LIFO. I'm asking you, how is the language going to support you? Are you going to implement a stack in your code? Are we going to write code having a data type stack, doing something, placing something somewhere? Take the clue from her. I said, are we going to write I saw some nods. You were not interested in maintaining a stack explicitly in your code. So does the language provide you with the support if the stack has to be maintained, not by me, but by somebody else? Huh? Recursion. Recursion comes to our rescue. Whatever we would have maintained explicitly in our code, the language comes to our support. The language which supports recursive program. Okay? So in recursion, the previous states are maintained. What is a recursive procedure? A procedure or function that calls itself. Once the last invocation is over, it goes back to the previous invocation. So that state is maintained internally by the hardware stack somewhere. When that invocation is over, it goes to the previous state. So everything is maintained internally by the compiler, by your runtime, etc., etc. So we are going to use backtracking technique. To use backtracking technique, we are going to use recursive algorithms. Okay? So I'll just show you the skeletal, and then we will pick up a specific problem. Acknowledgement. So the basis is for most of the content that you will find in this and in the next session from this book. I can't show Corman, unfortunately. Okay, I've never done a lecture on algorithms without Corman, but I have to do without Corman for this lecture. So I wanted to pick up another book. So this again is a good book, Algorithm Design Manual by Skeena, that discusses backtracking. Okay, Skeena. And let me admit, I am not very good in PPT presentations, so I looked all over, picked up many PPTs, and modified it to suit my way of presenting, okay? I mean, this is just to name a few. Umpteen PPTs are available. I think you would be in a better position to tell me that because I don't use PPTs in my class. And my organizers said this is going to be videographed and I have to come with a PPT. That is why I brought. Otherwise, I don't believe in PowerPoint presentation. So this he can edit later. Okay? Now, so this is what we were trying to look at with large search space. I was talking about a state space, search space, all of them mean the same thing, which are generally solvable using exhaustive search. Some examples, we'll see at least a couple of them. Is it an NP-complete problem? What is an NP-complete? I can't deviate. So I should stick to my topic. But anyway, is the Hamiltonian circuit an NP-complete problem? Yes, it is a hard problem. Okay, as I said, we use backtracking only for hard problems, means which require exponential time when you're trying to solve it systematically. Only for those problems we apply the techniques backtracking and branch and bound. So this is a hard problem. This is a problem for which no known polynomial time algorithm exists. Yes, it is an NP-complete problem. What is a Hamiltonian? Modeled using a complete weighted graph. From any city, I can go to any city. I mean, so what do you mean by complete graph? Huh? Complete graph. Every vertex is? No. Let's leave TSP. I'm talking about a graph. It's a graph. Huh? That is the answer I'll get, not this answer. Every vertex is connected. What do you mean by connected? No, what is a connected graph? Okay, you're right. What is a connected? So no, I'll come back to complete graph. What is a connected graph? Because you use the term connected. Okay, we are again digressing. So what is a complete graph? Between every pair of vertices, there exists an edge. We don't use the word connect. Okay, we have to be precise. Between every pair of vertices, there has to be an edge. Okay, that is called as a complete graph. For your Hamiltonian circuit problem, for your TSP problem, the graph is complete. So if there is no path from Mumbai to Chennai, then that is not going to be considered. All the paths exist. Only then the problem becomes complex. The problem becomes exponential. So the Hamiltonian circuit, TSP problem, they're all based on complete graphs. Between every pair of vertices, there exists an edge. For TSP, all the edges should be labeled by some weight. For Hamiltonian circuit, not necessary. In TSP, you start from one vertex, you start at a vertex, go back to that vertex, visit each vertex exactly one. Yes, that is called as a Hamiltonian circuit. For an unweighted graph, no weights. So you start at one place, come back to the same vertex, we visit each vertex exactly once. Okay, that is called as the Hamiltonian. So if the graph is Hamiltonian, such a circuit exists. Okay. Going through a maze, we have seen such puzzles, solving the 8 quints problem. So this is what we have said. So one component model as an n tuple for an n queens problem, one component at a time, evaluate. This is where the intelligence come into picture. This is where you avoid doing exhaustive search. As you build a tree, which we call as state space tree, we keep pruning the branches. So why we don't do exhaustive search? Because we realize from this node, I cannot get the solution. How? We will see. So I just cut it. I don't go till the leaf. I don't look at all possible n factorial, whatever options. I say this node will not lead to a solution. So don't go further down. Cut it. Take the next node and try to look at the possibilities. Okay. So that, how is that done? By evaluating. How you evaluate will depend on the problem on hand. Legitimate option. This is what we said. Legitimate option. Something that is feasible. Backtrack to replace that. Okay. This is what we were saying. So instead of looking at a particular problem, SI is the set from which AI is drawn, and SI has MI possibilities. In your exhaustive search, you will have to look at M1 into M2 into Mn. Okay, all the possibilities. Here, for us, the SI is 1 to N for all SI. But all SI need not be there. So all possibilities, choose the best candidate. Cannot lead to a solution. Up to I, you have formulated. You were looking at the I plus 1, and somehow you realize that you don't need to look further with first I components as A1, A2, AI. You don't look at the remaining MI plus 1 would not be considered. That is where you are cleverly pruning. That is why you don't have to look at all possible options. Okay, these are some jargons. One of you, somebody who's feeling sleepy, can you read? Okay, somebody who's awake, please read. Nobody would want to admit. Just like that. Or, I mean, read what each bullet. Read each bullet. Yes, that's what we have said. So having placed K queens, you want to try to map it with the problem we started with. Try to place the A plus 1 queen. Next person. Next. Okay, this again I picked up from the book. So basically what we are trying to say is you don't stop with one solution sometimes. So you have placed 8 queens on the checkerboard, stop. That's one solution. You may want to look at all possible solutions. You may want to know how many exist. Okay, so once a solution is obtained, how you process is left to us, what we want to do. That's why he says count and continue. Continue is for looking at another solution for the same problem. Otherwise, next person. Extendable. Otherwise, backtrack. Okay. I want you to remember these jargons because we'll be using them in the subsequent lecture as well. You're going to construct what we call as the state space tree. Okay. I'll tell you, the next slide tells you the definition. Each node corresponds to a partial solution that we have just constructed. Explore the state space tree using depth first search for backtracking. Place first queen, then the second queen, then the third queen, then the fourth queen. You go search through the state space tree in the depth first fashion. It is going to be different for the next technique, which is branch and bound. Okay, we will see the similarities, differences and the similarities subsequently. Prune non-promising nodes, nodes that won't lead to a candidate solution. Okay, next person. What is a state space tree? So tree, we know what a tree is. It has nodes, it has edges, okay? Right? Whoever is at the back, just read the first bullet. State space tree is a tree of choices being made. Next, initial state. So it is the initial state. Initial state is you have not started anything. You have not placed any queen on the checkerboard. Okay. Now we'll keep that and let's try to draw the state space tree for the four queens problem. We'll see whether we have understood what the definition is. So where do we start? What does it say? It is a tree of choices that is, we are looking at 4 cross 4 now, 4 queens problem. So at the root is the initial state. Initial state, no queen is placed. Then the next nodes of the first level. So root is at level 0. The nodes of the first level represent the choices made for the first component of the solution. What is your solution now? A1. Because it's a 4-queen problem, your solution vector is size 4. A1, A2, A3, A4. And A1 talks about the column where the first queen can be placed. Okay? So, the first level represents the choices made for the first component. This is the root. How many choices we have for the first component now? 4 choices because it's a 4-queen. What are the choices? What does it mean? What do the choices mean? What does this branch tell you? A1 is equal to 1 tells you what? First queen is placed in the first row, first column. First queen is placed in the first row, second column. First row, third column. First row, fourth column. So the first level represents the choices made for the first component, which is A1, where the first queen is placed. Now, the second level, this is the first level. Level 1, choice is made. That again, depending on the book, either the choice will be specified there or choice will be specified here. Because they said nodes, they are not talking about edges. So we will show the choices in the nodes. Again, how it is shown depends on the book which you're going to follow. Because he said nodes represent, so let me show this as A1 is equal to 1, whatever. Next. So next talks about, so I have already placed A1 in the first column. So he says you cannot place the queen in the second queen in the first column now because they'll cut. So he says there are only 2 choices. So which is A2 is equal to 2, where you place the second queen. A2 is equal to 3. Explore, construct, explore the state space tree using the depth first search. We have to keep that in mind. Okay? So you're exploring it in the depth first fashion. Okay? So let me construct the tree first, then I'll show you how we traverse it. Okay? Because this way it is easy for you to understand. What are the choices for the next level? What are the choices for the third level? Whether we really construct it this way or construct it differently, we will handle it. We don't construct it this way. We construct it only in the depth first fashion. Okay? But anyway, to make you understand how the state space tree looks like, I am constructing it breadth-wise. It won't be constructed breadth-wise because we did not do it that way when we tried to simulate. We placed the first queen, then we picked up the second queen and wanted to know where. So these were not looked at when I was trying to simulate the solution. Remember? So relative if you're the first level will have A1 is equal to A2, but when you're constructing, you will place the first queen in the first location. Then try to look at one possible solution for the second queen. We explore the state space tree only in the depth first fashion. Okay? So, where are you going to place the second queen? So, I cannot place it in the first column because they'll cut. So, can I place it in the second column? Can I place it in the second column? It will cut diagonally. So, I cannot place it in the second column. Okay? If you have understood how we are going to draw the state space tree, I will go back to the original way I've drawn. Okay? So that I can prune and I can show you what is happening. And then later on, for exploring, I will specify the numbers by which we are going to So the second level, the choice is A2 is equal to 4. So likewise, there are 3 choices for the second queen. So draw the 3 choices. So this is 2, A2 is equal to 1, A2 is equal to 3. Fill it up quickly. So other than the third column, so 1, okay, completely finish drawing the entire. Now, A1 is equal to 1, there are 3 choices. But are we going to continue further along this way? I cannot place the second queen in the second column because they will cut. So I am not going to look at all possible cases. So the permutation tree will have, the first one there will be 4 nodes. The second level, each node will give rise to 3. Next level, it will give rise to 2. Next level, are you understanding? We call that as a permutation tree. Do you understand what we are saying? So first level, there are 4 nodes. In the second level, there will be each node will give rise to 3. So 4 into 3, 12 nodes. In the next level, 2 queens are already placed. So I'll have, each one will have 2 children. So completely draw the tree. That is called as the permutation tree. Again, permutation, n factorial, computing it is going to be very slow, very inefficient. So we keep pruning. So I don't want to go further, search further. This will not give me a solution. So don't draw the children for this, cut it. Okay, that's what we mean by saying pruning the nodes efficiently, so that you don't have to look at all possible candidate solutions. That way, we won't be looking at all tuples. Okay? So strictly speaking, A1, 4, 4 cross 4 cross 4 cross 4. So 4 possibilities we have to check. Okay? So that we are going to, then what did we say? We made it 4 factorial. Do you understand what I'm saying? Strictly speaking, S1 has 4 possibilities, S2 has 4, S3 has 4, S4 has 4. So total number of candidate solutions will be 4 into 4 into 4 into 4. Then what did we say? If you have placed a queen in one column, don't place the second queen in the same column. So now so the size which was 4 power 4, then reduced to 4 factorial. So first queen has 4 columns, second queen has the remaining 3 columns, third queen has 2 columns, fourth queen only 1 column. We started with the state space size, problem space of 4 power 4. By using some heuristics, we cut it, it becomes 4 factorial. Now, that 4 factorial also we are not going to go ahead because of your, so the pruning that you are handling, because this again is 4 factorial, but I am not drawing 4 factorial. Pruning because of that diagonal cut is also incorporated into it. Okay. So now, this will not be looked at. This one can be in column 1, then can be column 3. I can continue further. So 1 and 3 gone. So you talk about the next queen A3. So 1, 3 gone. Are you understanding how it goes? Okay. So here, so when I have placed in third column, 1 queen, I cannot place another column in second column. Why? Again, diagonal cutting. So I will not look further down. That is how we keep cleverly pruning. Okay. So having understood the method, okay. If you have any doubt, please ask me. So this is what we mean by saying pruning non-promising nodes. These are non-promising nodes because they are not going to give rise to a valid solution. So non-promising, so you just cut them from the tree. You don't include them in the tree. So each node represents a partial solution. You have already seen. You have understood where to place A1. Each node corresponds to a partial solution. If Y was created, an edge from node X to node Y exists if Y was created by advancing X. Okay? Is it okay? So that may still lead, I don't know whether it will lead to a solution, but right now 1 and 3, it seemed okay. So it may lead to a solution, but we have realized that is not going to give the solution. We tried it later, it didn't come, remember? So it may lead to a solution, otherwise it is called non-promising. Either non-promising dead ends. This is a leaf because I have not expanded it further, okay? Because I have cut it, I have pruned it. So leaves represent either non-promising dead ends or you stop when you have found the complete solution, okay? This is what the processing, tree construction, okay? This is fine, isn't it? Now, some of the problems which use backtracking. So one problem is your maze problem. What are the choices? What do we mean by, what are the choices made when, where? Because as I said, maze problem, use backtracking. Okay? So in the 8 queens problem, we were looking at where to place the first queen, where to place the second queen. So what is this maze problem all about? What is a maze problem? So we know, so you have to enter and somehow get out. Okay? So that is the problem. So you enter the maze and try to come out of it. We normally do such puzzle. But what are the choices? When do you have choices to make? Because what did we say? Place it in the first column, it did not work, go back, etc., etc. So now what are the choices made for this maze problem? So whenever there is a junction. Okay, so when there is a choice, do you have to, at a junction, at a point of junction, all this we have to formulate it appropriately in your code. So at the junction, so you will have to look at what are the possibilities for each junction. And either you take a left or a right. Remember, take a left, go to the next junction, take the first. Some junctions may have left and right, some junctions may have 3. Okay, so if you are, I can go here. When I am here, okay, this is a junction. I have 1, 2, 3. I can either come straight or I can go to left. 2 dana, cherry. Appropriately, oh, this is the junction. These are the walls. So this junction, I can either go left, right, back, forward. Okay, so each junction will have either 4 choices or 2 choices or 3 choices. Accordingly, you will have to remember, and if we should handle it. All this we should handle in your code. It's trying to solve the maze problem. 8 queens we have already seen. This is the state space tree. The way he has shown the checkerboard itself. Okay, 0 state, all squares are empty. So this is the placement of the first queen in the first column. Then the second queen cannot be placed in the first column. He is looking at the n factorial and pruning it, showing it explicitly. This is the solution to is this a solution to an 8 queens problem? Is it an 8 queens problem? Yes, there are 8 queens. Checkerboard, 8 squares. Is it a solution? Yes, it is a solution. So each queen 1 row, each queen 1 column, those things you can easily check. So cutting along the diagonal. So look at each queen and see whether any other queen is there on the diagonal. This is a solution which you would have got. This is what we are trying to see. Coding done recursively without we having to do the bookkeeping manually. Okay, this is where we left. So this is a backtracking algorithm. It's a template, okay, not with respect to any particular problem. So what does the template have? Backtrack, what are the parameters that are passed? X, 1, : I. What does it mean? I queens are placed. I junctions have been crossed by looking at the other 2. And first I promising components, then representing the problem solution. So what are we saying? If this itself is a solution, output. So you have reached the end. I happens to be n in the n queens problem. Okay. then you just output the solution. Here he says write, then we have already seen process count output, whatever you want to do when a solution is reached. Else, this is not a solution. So what has happened? You have already looked at the first I components. So you will have to look at the I plus 1th component. How do we do? You try to look at what are the candidate options, what are the choices for the I plus 1th element. Okay? In your, it is the I plus 1th queen. How do we handle it? For each element x, I plus 1th element, so that is picked up from S of I plus 1. So you look at each element in this, which is consistent with x of 1 comma I. What does it mean? It is fine. You can extendable by placing this choice. So you have placed I queen, so I plus 1th queen can be placed in this particular column. So it is consistent with whatever you have formed. I'm sorry. Consistent with this and the constraints, what do? You pick up that and place it in the I plus 1. Whatever be the position, it could be 1 to n in your left, right, straight in your junction. Then what do? Backtrack. So you have formed the I plus 1th component now. So you go back. It's a recursive. So what do? You go back. You have placed I plus 1th. You have to look at the I plus 2th. I plus 2th means you will be looking at S of I plus 2, pick up, you go back. So that means you are placing the first queen, second queen, third queen. Where is that backtracking that you were talking about coming into picture in this template? Only the name backtrack is there. Are you understanding? So what did we say? This doesn't work, backtrack. This doesn't work, backtrack. But in your skeletal template, this is all that the algorithm template is. You have algorithm, backtrack. Those two are comments. You are checking whether you have reached the end. Otherwise, you are placing it, looking at the next component. You are picking up the value from that set and then taking that value, placing it xi plus 1 and continuing. Where are we backtracking? Any problem you can, this is the template. Any problem you can write solution based on this template, that's all. What that Si plus 1 is, what is the data structure, I'll show you one code. What is the data structure you use, all that will vary depending on the problem. But skeletal template is only this. Where is backtracking happening? That is, I am not able to place the I plus 1th queen, so go back to the ith queen and place it in the next possible case. How does the control flow? Recursive algorithm which computes Fibonacci. So what is the Fibonacci number? F of n is equal to whatever. Nth Fibonacci number. Nth Fibonacci number is obtained by adding n minus 1 Fibonacci number and n minus 2. Okay. So now write a recursive algorithm. I am not asking code, no syntax. So how Fib is the name. How should your recursive algorithm, what is the structure? What should it have? Base case, yeah. What is the structure? Base case, he is right. We should have a base case, etc., etc. It should have parameters. Without parameters, you can't write a recursive algorithm or a recursive program. Okay. So you have to have some parameter that you're passing. Okay. Then what he called as base case, I would like to call that as a terminating condition because it's an algorithm or a code. So we are going to say if I need 2, okay, let's assume that we are going to start with 1. Again, some people say, so we'll start with 1. First Fibonacci number is 1, second Fibonacci number is 1. Okay. So if, how does that manifest, how does it appear in your code? If n equal to 1, what do? We have to have a return statement, return 1. return, so I don't need to have an else, it's already control has left. So if n is equal to 2, I will say return again 1. The two Fibonacci numbers, first two numbers are, let's assume that it is 1 and 1. I have returned, so there is no need for else. Then otherwise, I don't put an else because it's a return. Return fib of that is it. Okay. Again, I didn't put return because control has left. Now, let's try to understand the control flow using what we call as a recursion tree. Okay. So just keep this code in mind. So there is basically two calls, two recursive calls. Okay, keep that in mind. Okay. Let's see how the control flows. Assume that n is equal to 5. Okay, I want to call Fibonacci with 5. We are trying to trace your recursion algorithm. So the first if statement, is it satisfied? No. Second if satisfied? No. Then we come to the third statement where it is results in a recursive call to fib. What is the parameter now? 4. Not and, only 4. So what am I going to do? That results in a recursive call 4. You go up. Is 4 equal to 1? No. 4 is equal to, no. So those two are 2, no. Then you come to the third statement where it is return. You are calling fib n minus 1. What is n minus 1 now? Are you understanding? Are you able to trace? So for your calling still, okay, the other things are kept in abeyance. It's still there, previous state. Go up, nothing happens. Again, it results in a Fibonacci 2. So you call with fib 2. Now, when fib 2, when n is equal to 2, you return a 1. Where do you return a 1? To the place where it was invoked. So what is being returned? 1. Where was fib 2 called? At n minus 1 when n was 3. So you are returning that value to this. Now what happens? Each call has 2 fibs. So what should I do? I have to have another call now. N minus 1 over, now I am going to n minus 2 when n is equal to 3. So now this Fibonacci call has the parameter 1. So when n is equal to 1, what does it return? It has to return 1, but what it returns is this plus this is what is correct. You are right. It returns 1. Okay. Now what has happened? You are at n is equal to 3. Fib n minus 1 completed with a value 1. Fib n minus 2 completed with a value 1. This has to return the sum of these two to the invocation. Are you understanding? This is how recursion works. So now what will happen? N is equal to 1. So you will be calling fib 2. This is the n. This was the n minus 1 call. Because there are 2 calls, I am showing this as a binary tree. If there is only 1 call, only 1. More than 1 call, like your towers of an IF3, whatever. How many calls are there? So there will be 3 children. 3 calls, each one will correspond to 1 branch of the tree. Okay? So now this is fib 2, which returns 1. So this both the invocations over. Left invocation, right invocation. N minus 1 is found, n minus 2 is found. So the sum goes up. What will be the right child? Then what happens? Left or right? Left child. What happens? Returns 1. Right child. Returns 1. Sum. That is how recursion works. Now, keep the structure in mind, come back to this and tell me, when you search for the next alteration, where will the control be when you exhaust? All one down. One. How do I look at, I wanted to place it in the second column, it is not working, I am placing in the third column. How does it work? It's working, not working. No, in the code, So here, the X worked. So you placed it in I plus 1. What he says is, X is picked up from Si plus 1, it works, so you placed. He says, when I have exhausted, looked at all possible elements in Si plus 1, I should give up. I cannot place my I plus 1 queen at where that giving up takes place. Control எங்க இருக்கும்னு கேக்குறேன். Backtrack plus இந்த இடத்துக்கு வருமா கண்ட்ரோல்? எப்போ வரும்? புரியுதாப்பா? If it was successful, backtrack plus போயினே இருக்கும், மேல போயினே இருக்கும். When will it come to this point? I have given up. When will you give up? As he said, when I have tried the entire for loop, I looked at all the for loop. I am not getting any. So what do? So for each element x of I plus 1, I tried constraints, do. Illa. So in the for full thediyachi. If it worked, I think I have not placed it. These two are indented. In that for loop, these two happen. Okay. So if I find one valid value for the I plus 1 queen, I place it, call backtrack. So when will the control come after the for? I tried all possible cases, and that is the end of my algorithm. You have reached the end. So that call of backtrack is over, and you had not got what you wanted. So you go to the previous queen, where the previous queen you will be looking at the next element in Si plus 1. Such a very beautiful, just 2 lines. It achieves what you wanted. Just 2 lines. Are you understanding? So what is happening here? If I find one, I place and try to place the next queen. Then for the next queen, I try to place, go back. I keep on going. So what will happen when I exhaust this for loop? I have looked at all possible positions for the I plus 1 queen. I have looked at all possible cases. So what will happen? This for ends. What is this for ends? That is the end of this call of the backtrack. This is the end. Nothing is there after that. This is the end. When that backtrack ends, what does it mean? You go back to the place where it was called. Where was the I plus 1 queen called? Here. So what is happening at this point? You try to go to the next element in the for loop. Are you understanding? Okay. So that is all. Just these 2 lines will achieve what you wanted to do. We don't have to do any bookkeeping. Everything is handled internally by the compiler and the runtime. Okay. So we'll take a this, I think. Okay. So again, there are 2 schools of thought. So is recursion mandatory? Is recursion needed? Okay. That is what I'm trying to say is the recursion is a feature of the programming language, isn't it? The language supports recursion. That means you can write programs that false set. So the next question is, he says, yes. So if you use recursion, it crashes. So I am looking at a different aspect. Is it mandatory in a programming language? Can we avoid recursion? I mean, is it mandatory? What I'm asking is, supposing, so I am trying to implement something using backtracking, I want recursion. So supposing a particular language, X, like a Java, C, C++, C sharp, some language that I designed, I don't like recursion, so I have not incorporated that feature in my language design. Okay, no recursion in my language, new language with everything. But I want to implement a backtracking algorithm using this way. So does it mean that my language cannot be used to write backtrack algorithms? That's what I'm posing the same question. Is it mandatory in a programming language? Wait. No. I'm asking, is it a mandatory feature? Can my language survive even if it does not support recursion? What does it mean? Can it be used to solve all types of problems under the sky? That's all I'm asking. Will it survive? Will it not survive? Will it work? Yes, it will work. Recursion is not a mandatory feature of a programming language. How can recursion be implemented? Using iteration, right? So recursion is not a mandatory feature of any programming language. There are systematics. I love that book also, Data Structures and Algorithms by Erho Ullman. Okay, he has given a systematic way of, that is, you can write code, you can write an algorithm, you can write a program which will take a recursive procedure and convert it into a non-recursive procedure. There is a systematic method available. Recursion is easy for us to understand. For programmers, recursion we don't support internally. Recursion is expensive. She is talking about crashing. I'm saying even if it runs to completion, it takes more time. Okay, so implementation wise, recursive procedures are slow. It takes lots of time to implement. Execution time is more. It is expensive execution time wise. So we don't support. If you're going to write code where speed matters, don't write recursive code. Recursion is easy for us to understand, for programmers, not at the low level. So that means recursion can be dispensed with, yes. So recursive procedures can be rewritten as iterative procedure. For that, again, you don't have to worry about how to rewrite. There is a systematic way of handling, so you can automate that also. Okay? So any recursive procedure can be converted into an equivalent iterative procedure. There, we will be manipulating the stacks explicitly in our code. What is recursion? You keep pushing what we call as the activation record. You push the state. Before that is over, push another state, push another state. Only then you can go back and retrieve all the states, retrieve the previous choices made. Instead of letting the system handle it, you handle it yourself in your code, using stack data types, using your iteration, right? Yes, recursion, low-level coders don't advocate. Low-level, we are only high-level coders, okay? So low-level coding means for writing system programs, we don't advocate, right? Is that okay? Okay, now, I showed you a skeletal algorithm for backtracking. That is picked up from your Levitin. What I am showing is a skeletal code for backtracking. Code. Again, not based on any problem. Okay? So see whether you can understand. This again is what language? In what language is this? This is picked up from Sina. Okay, the second book which I showed. What language? So chuma paranga, what is happening? Can you understand? You will have to map it on to that skeletal algorithm we had talked about. That is your skeletal algorithm. This is your skeletal code written in C. Again, not with respect to any problem. Chuma, just like that. See whether you can map something. Whatever you saw there, that is what is here. What is that? Oh, sorry, innu konjam ona pore. That corresponds to your if x1 dot dot I is a solution, process that solution. So processing means counting, outputting, etc. etc. This is that. Okay. Else. So what is this K corresponds to? A is your solution vector that you are talking about. And here the solution vector, all the elements are int, okay, for this particular skeletal code. K, that is you have done the partial solution up to the kth component, okay. So now, is this the end? No, it is. Don't worry too much about all this. I mean, they are domain dependent. Domain dependent means depends on the problem that you are trying to solve. Because we don't advocate global variables, so we have to pass parameters. So I'll show you another code also for a specific problem. You don't have to understand too much, but So what is happening? If it is a solution, you process the solution and quit. Otherwise, so you have computed up to k components in the partial vector. So you have to go to the k plus 1. Okay. For that, what did we say? Then what did you do? You looked at all possible values for the k plus 1th position, whether it can be placed here, here. Okay. That is what he is remembering in the max, that C max candidates tells you the choices that are available for the k plus 1, k plus 2, etc., etc. So we are incrementing k, so you have not reached the end, so you are looking at the next queen. Then what is happening in this particular method, in this particular function, you are trying to look at all possible feasible values for the k plus 1th. In our queen, whether you can place it in the second row, second column, third column, fourth column, or does it have only 3, 5, 7? So this function is dependent on the problem that you are trying to solve. Okay? Having picked up, so it is available, number of candidates is available in this, because it's a return parameter, that's why he is passing that address. The total number of possible values for that k plus 1. And where are the values available? They are available in the C array. That's how we declared it, C maximum candidates, number of possible values for a particular component of the solution vector. So here you are constructing for the k plus 1th queen now. Having got that in C and C plus 1, this corresponds to the for loop that we were looking at. For an x belonging to Si plus 1. That is what is happening. For an x belonging to Si plus 1, you are going through that array. You are looking at the first place, whatever you have put in C of I. It could be the column number. So you are taking the first value from that candidate and placing it in the AK. So this is the k plus 1. K is already incremented, so you are looking at the k plus 1th queen now. And you are placing a particular column there. And you are making that move. Making that move, that again depends on the problem on hand. Okay, if you are placing, you have to make sure that it is remembered elsewhere. So you will have to do all the bookkeeping. Then you are calling backtrack again. So what is this backtrack now? It is recursion, goes back. You are having the k plus 1th queen's value now. You are checking whether you have finished. Otherwise, then you are incrementing k plus 2, picking up all the constructing the candidates, etc., etc. This keeps going. Backtrack k plus 1, then k plus 2, then k plus 3. When we lost, when we did not have, this is very clear in this code. Unmake move. Whatever queen you have placed, I rubbed it on the board. That unmake move tells you. So now this is very clear here. You will come to this position when the previous placement of the queen did not work. That's why we are unmaking the move. You made a move, you showed that the queen was placed there, it was marked. Now you have to unmark because I'm removing the queen from there. So this unmake move tells us clearly you will come to this point when the subsequent queen could not be placed. Okay? This is what I was saying. Whatever information, so it could be the board, IJ, whatever. Construct candidates, fills an array C, the set of possible candidates, possible values for the kth position of A given the contents of the first k minus 1. Otherwise, there is nothing. I don't have to have a routine. 1 to 9, 1 to 9, 1 to 9 will work. Or 1 to 8, 8 by 8. Now 1 to 8 will work. Here we are saying consistent with the placement of the previous queens. That's why we have to have another routine which does this. So in your 8 queens routine, what will you have? You will check whether the new position is along the diagonal, whether it is the same column. So one routine is needed to check what are the possible values with the k plus 1 queen. Clean up this data structure if the move is taken back. Okay, with this, I think I will wind up this session. Queens, we could easily relate. Okay? This is, we know what system Sudoku is all about. Again, we can do a backtracking. That's how we do. How do you manually do? You try to put a number there. If it does not work, you keep changing. You keep That's how we manually solve Sudoku. But writing code is not going to be that simple for a Sudoku. Okay, because in your 8 queens or n queen, only 8 cross 8, and all of them are free initially. But here, there are some boxes where the numbers, you all know what this problem is about, isn't it? So we have a 9, what do you call, zones, 9 sectors, he calls them as sectors. So 3 cross 3, 3 cross 3, 3 cross 3. So totally it will be a 9 cross 9, okay, with the numbers filled. So that the number 1 to 9 cannot repeat in the column, it cannot repeat in the row, it cannot repeat within the 3 cross 3 sector. Okay. So now what is the data structure? You will have to remember. So let's try to visualize how we are going to write a solution for this. We know how backtracking works. So where do we start? So for your 8 queens problem, we started trying to place the first queen in some box. Now for a Sudoku, where do you start? I mean, how do you start? Manually, let's try to visualize, then we will see how we are going to write the code for it. Where do you start? You remember that the Sudoku game, no? You all know, no? Where do we start? No. One. What is 1 per sector? No. Are you talking about the first row? So what he is saying is, anyway, we have to place only numbers 1 to 9. So he says, I will start with number 1. I will go to the first sector, 9 cross 9, see if 1 is there. If it is there, I won't look at it. I will go to the second sector. It is correct. So I will see if 1 is there. It is not there. So what do I do with that one? So he says, second sector, no 1. So I'll have to place it in the 3 cross 3. Are you able to visualize? And ensuring that it is not happening. Then 1 for the next, 1 for this. Is that how you manually solve Sudoku? You will not finish even this. No, I mean, good. No, I'm not joking. I'm saying it is a systematic way of handling. But we don't solve Sudoku that way. I mean, that's why I don't call this as this is not a design technique, because we use heuristics here. Are you understanding? Algorithm design means if it is dynamic programming, divide and conquer, everything is set. இப்போ இவன் சொல்ற மாதிரி பண்ணணும்னு வச்சுக்கோ, the fastest computer will take years. இல்லை நம்ம எப்படி சால்வ் பண்றோம்ன்றதை இமேஜின் பண்ணிக்கோங்க. Then again, we solve it better for small puzzles, but we are trying to see whether that can be incorporated in the code. டக்குன்னு சொல்லுங்க, எப்படி சால்வ் பண்ணுவோம்? பண்ணிருக்கீங்களா இல்லையா? How do you pick up? I don't pick up the number 1. I solve. Only very simple. That's how we solve. So what do? We pick up the zone or pick up the row where the number of empty squares is very less. That's how we manually. Okay? What I'm trying to say is, this we would like to incorporate in the code. We would like to. Okay? So now that makes sense. So we pick up, she is talking about picking up an empty square. She is not looking at the number now. Are you understanding? So do we look at the number or do we look at the place where to place a number? So she says, I will pick up a square where most of the 3 cross 3, most are filled up, or in the row, most are filled up. That makes sense. So how do we write it? Are you understanding? We are going to write the code for it. So how are you going to write the code for it? You are given a Sudoku with numbers placed. I mean, this is how you're going to do it. Do you understand? It's just the data structure design is going to be quite complex, but it is nice. It will be very interesting to solve it. Are you understanding? So what is happening with each empty square, I have to attach some property. What is that? Why did you pick up that square? Because in that column too many, in that row too many, in that zone too many. Maybe you have to attach 3 attributes. Are you understanding? This is how we design algorithms. We write code. We think, not like you. You mug. You mug internet. No, you're all teachers, but we don't. You're all teachers or students. Then I can talk, look at you and say, safely. Sometimes teachers also mug. So, the thing, okay, then you will forget. Then it is going, what am I, so that's how. So what is happening? So you will have to worry about not only that, position of the empty square. So many things you will have to know. Where is it? It is which row, which column? What are the properties? Are you understanding? Okay, fine. Now, I was about to say something else. So we have picked up. And you have to backtrack. You'll have to look at one more attribute associated with the empty square. What are the numbers that can go into it? Are you understanding? So how many properties? So with respect to an empty square, how many in the row, how many in the column, how many in the diagonal, and what are the possible numbers that can go into it? All this should be remembered for each call, okay? And then you will have to backtrack appropriately. Again, having said all that, because we are dealing only at the application level, we don't mind writing recursive algorithm. Otherwise, it becomes too complex for us to handle, right? Now, vechirken nenikiren skeletal code for the state space is the sequence of open squares, the blank squares, each of which must be ultimately filled with a number. Exactly the integers that have not yet appeared in row I, row J. So all this we have to maintain for each open square. This is the skeletal code that is given in the book. Okay, I mean, I think if you want to read, you can read, but not much, I mean, not much information, but anyway, whatever is given, we can read. So, why have they given it in caps? Why DIMENSI? Why? Is it mandatory? உங்க டீச்சர் எனக்கு தெரியுது. Why? Why compiler கத்துமா? நான் பண்ணி பாருங்க. So hash defined. I was asking her why this should be in caps. Why can't it be in small? So what? So consonant எல்லாம் caps தான் இருக்கணும்னு இருக்கா? யார்? Readability increases. Okay. If I'm going to look at the code, if I see something in caps, I know they are hash defined consonant. That is one. If I want the code to be readable, so we follow some conventions. Okay, the normally constants in caps. Variables, if it is a big way, I mean, we don't like IJKL. I'm not talking philosophically. Int I don't like. Because what is that I for? As long as it is just a loop variable, that is fine. So we would like to give meaningful names. If the meaningful names has words, you split them using underscore, all said and done. She had another point to make, but I don't know whether she understood what she was trying to say. Okay, all said and done. So I don't want everybody to read my code. Okay, why? It is very secret. So can I do it in lowercase? It is naming convention. We normally do it that way. Banana or so I don't want anybody to read. So let me give it in DIMEN. Is it okay? You were trying to say something pre-processor, etc. I'm not answering that question. I'm expecting you to come up with an answer. Right? So here, type def. So basically the point has two coordinates, x and y. Row and column. He is calling that as a point. Okay. Struct int x comma y. And this m dimension plus 1, dimension plus 1. What do you think this stands for? Sari koncham move panna pora theriyum. So we are defining a structure which is type def. That structure has one two-dimensional array, another int variable, another n cells plus 1 points, and we call this structure as board type. It's a type. Okay, I can use board type. Now, can you understand? I told you we have to use meaningful names. Can you understand what this variable is for? What do you guess? So, a meaningful name and number the meaningful name, what do you think that field would correspond to? Okay, from a meaningful name, what do you think this type def is all about? Meaningful names, what do you think this type def is for? This structure is for? Lilith, what is this? What is that we are having here? Board. That's why he calls that as board type. Why he used the word type? Because it is a type def. Okay. So this is basically the board. Keep that in mind and tell me what you think this field is for. What will we use that for? Correct. Number of blanks. What do we use it for? Yeah. So, yes. So, when free count becomes 0, you are done. That's all. You are right. So, free count corresponds to the number of free squares in your board, the blank squares in your board. So, every time you place something there, you decrement it when it becomes 0. So, we are talking about when it is n x, is it a solution? Here, I cannot talk about the solution here. Because how many free squares, it depends on a particular problem instance. I can't even keep, are you understanding? So there, just 8 queens placed, job over. N, you have reached n, job over. Here we cannot say that because the number of free squares I won't know. So that is part of a problem instance. So you keep decrementing the free count, and when free count becomes 0, you say. So this is that construct candidates which talks about filling the possible values for a free square. So construct candidates we have already seen, remember. So having placed k queen, what are the possible solutions for the k plus queen? Likewise. So already you have finished filling 5 free squares. You are trying to fill the 6th square. What do you think the possible values are? This x and y is the coordinate. As far as the, do you see how the complexity of the problem has increased? As far as the 8 queens problem was concerned, your solution vector was just a single dimensional 1, 2, A1, A2, N, over. Here, I need to know the physical position of the free square. That is what your x dot y is all about. The next square, so I'll have to keep track of the coordinates of the free square, and I'll have to worry about the candidates that can go into the free square, remembering what went in the, so the complexity has increased multifold compared to your 8 queens problem. Yes, this also can be solved. Here, if possible I is equal to true, very easily said than done. Possible I is equal to true, C of that is equal to I. So you are placing a number there. What will that number be? Will be 1 to 9. When will this routine they have not shown? What is this possible I true? When will this return? It's a Boolean function obviously. When will this return true? You will have to look at the square, column, row of all the board type, all the coordinates. So the particular column, because we know what the square that we are trying to fill. We have got the x and y. So having got the x and y, I'll have to look at all the column, look at the values which are filled up, and then see whether it is possible or not. Okay. So easier said than done. Possible, true. If it is possible, put it in this. If it has an increment this. Okay. So this again is skeletal, as I said. Make move, fill that square. So that means that particular position which you are looking at, place whatever you wanted to place. AK is the number. Now again that AK is a single dimensional array. What you have in your AK will be numbers 1 to 9, but the length of, what will be the length of this AK? What will be the vector size? Number 8 queens problem la vector size is 8. N queens problem la vector size is n. In the இடத்துல what is the vector size? The value will be 1 to 9. Vector size, AK. How, what will be the length of your solution vector? Length of your solution vector, what does it depend on? Length of the solution vector for a Sudoku? 9. Length. I am not talking about the values. Values, you will have only 1 to 9. Inside, A of K will have only 1 to 9. What is K? Huh? Number of blanks. We don't know. That is your pre-count. So if there are 20 blanks, I have to tell you what goes into each of the 20 blanks. So that length of the vector, so it is not fixed like in your 8 queens problem. Are you understanding? So it depends on the number of blanks. And each blank will have only 1 to 9. That is fine. Value which you take. But length is cannot be said beforehand. Okay? Are you understanding? Okay. This is what I wanted to go. Arbitrary square selection. Somebody said start from the first. You can pick up anything. Okay? That is fine. Easy to write the code. But most constrained, which square will, what you said. This is what we normally do. Pick the one with the less number of. So what she said, how many in the we talk about number of rows, number of columns, number of things. That is what is put in a simple way. Okay. This, the second point, I can't even imagine how it is going to be done. Look aheadness. Look aheadness is tough. How far you are going to look ahead? As itself, it is quite tough. He says, local count allow the number that had not appeared. This is what we had visualized. But what he is proposing is, look ahead. If I place this number in this square, subsequently I have no options for the subsequent placement. So like the pruning. Look aheadness, I don't know how many steps you can look ahead, and it is going to be very complex. And he has given some numbers. This is what he says. 0 possible moves to consider for ij because of what is going to happen far ahead. Okay, I think this is okay. I think the other two problems are given in they are all very simple problems, which are given in the text. I would like you to have a look at it. So summarizing, okay, if you want, do you want to see? Okay, I'll just show this. So usually do you know what a subset sum problem is? So given, this is a subset. Given a set of positive integers, find the subset. Given a set of positive integers, find the subset. They add up to a given number. That is a subset sum. Given a set of integers, find the subset. The integers add up to the given number d. So you are given a set of integers and you are given a d. You are given a sum. So for example, this is the set given. Normally we arrange the set in the increasing order. 1, 2, 5, 6, 8. And we want a subset of this set which add up to 9. So two solutions, 1, 2, and 6, 1 and 8. Okay. This is called as the subset sum. Find the subset whose sum is equal to the given integer. Given a set of integers. அதுக்கு ஒரே ஒரு ஸ்டேட் ஸ்பேஸ் மட்டும் பார்த்துடலாம். Normally, for any problem that uses subsets, okay, this is one way we draw the state space tree. So what we do is we take whether you want to have 3. This is for a different problem, I think. Okay. So this is the set given. Set is 3, 5, 6, 7. D is 15. So what do? We start with the first element with 3, without 3. Then the next one will be with 5, without 5. With 6, without 6. So the levels will be with the first element, without the first element. With the first, there will be 4 levels depending on the number of. So 0 start state with 3, then sum adds up to 3. With 5, sum adds up to 8. The third number 14. Then you are left with 7, but we want to add up only up to 15. So this will not work. So without 3, so sum is still 0. I can have either the next number or I don't have the next number. If I have the next number, then I can have the 6, because already 3 I have dispensed with. 3 I am not going to have. So among the remaining 5 and 6 and one more, I think, whatever. We keep and we keep pruning. We don't go for it. So this is one way. And for all problems which uses subsets, this is how we handle. Another classic problem which uses subsets is your knapsack problem. Okay, so I think we will solve that using branch and bound in the next session. So summary, typically applied for what? The combinatorial problems for which no efficient algorithm. Efficient algorithm means no polynomial time algorithm exists. What do you mean by efficient? Polynomial time algorithm. For finding exact solutions. For all NP-complete problems, polynomial time algorithms exist if the algorithms are approximate. Okay, NP-complete problems are all exponential time algorithms. So what do? We go in for approximation algorithms which run in polynomial time, which will give you an approximate answer to the given NP-complete problem. Here we are talking about coming up with an exact solution for a NP-complete problem. Okay, which is extremely slow, holds a hope, that's all. You can't say it will run fast for all instances, no. Some instances of not acceptable amount of time, all those are relative terms. So this we will look at subsequently.